Welcome back, everybody, to the podcast. This is everyone's favorite co-host chat time, and you're listening to In the Company of Charity podcast. I'm Sister Liz, and I'm here with my faithful companion and sister co-host, Sister Elizabeth. How are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you, sister?
Good. We already got talking, and we said we have to start recording because we're already doing the episode right now, just catching
Yeah,
up.
we tend to have a sister chat before we do a co-host chat. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Well, we just saw each other in person over in St. Louis, Missouri. It was a lovely weekend out there.
It was a great time. I was really glad to be part of your discernment weekend, and yeah, it's just very encouraging, to know that two discernment weekends, these choices of the heart weekends that
Mm-hmm.
the provinces do, or 4 women in California and 5 here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think, that's very hopeful, very encouraging. 9 women in
Absolutely.
discernment, I think, uh, religious life is alive, and discernment yeah, it really is. I mean, I think just that, to have women in discernment, at least considering the community life, considering fraternal life, is important. I mean,
Mm.
if we don't have those opportunities, how's someone going to know? So I applaud your efforts this weekend because,
Yes, I had to stop myself from calling people the girls.
oh
And so
Lord,
they are not they are not girls. They are young women.
they
They are
are
women.
women. Yes. Yeah.
But it's an endearing, close, it's a closeness term rather than calling people children. But shout out to all you ladies who came to our discernment weekend. You are
Yes.
women.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming, and we pray for you. But yes, I think it's been so good to get back to St. Louis for a little minute to a place I lived for 4 years, and it's just like coming home, seeing the arch, driving by Forest Park, all the cute little places in the area, and you just wish you had more days to just play, but there are things we got to get back to. So
Yeah. We do have to say our attempt to go have coffee was thwarted a bit by things
why would they
closing
close at
really early.
4:30? Get out of
What
here, people.
30? Yeah, we were like, what's going on? We start one place, we go to another, and each time we missed it by a few minutes,
You
so
try to support
um,
small businesses and then they close at 4:30. It's unfortunate. we tried.
yeah,
We
yeah.
tried real hard.
So then you end up doing what many, many sisters do. You just have a little cot talk, You
Yes.
just park it somewhere and talk
Talk.
away. Little
My
cot talk.
favorite was when you pronounced the word drawer at some point on the weekend, and I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" And you said draw.
Draw. It's in the draw, like the dresser draw. Artists draw, that's a verb, and a dresser draw is a noun.
That's where
Just,
you keep your clothes or whatever
that's
else.
where you keep your clothes. Right. The drawers in your dresser,
Your
you know.
Boston was
What,
showing on that one.
why are we doing this again? It's been well established that
uh,
I have a Boston accent and in very specific ways, actually. It's not always there, but once you get it started too, it's going to be bad. So just be prepared.
so we're going to spend this time talking to you about some of the things that we do that are not in our job descriptions. So
Yeah.
just to share a little bit about other duties as assigned. What are the fun things
Yeah, I call them
happening?
side hustles. I just call it a little side hustle. Yeah. It's
Exactly.
good works that it's not that, we weren't sent to do it or, like we're hiding something, that's ridiculous. But sometimes your ministry either gives you more time to get involved in something or, the community you're around. So, like, I'm at a small parish here in the Dogtown area of St. Louis. Anyone knows this area? We're out by the zoo, right near Turtle Park, and our parish combined with another small parish, and so we've been doing these combined women's. It's like women's prayer group, but it's been just a group of women from both parishes trying to get together. You know, parishes sometimes can be a little territorial, and they're really trying to see the gift of their combined parish. And so we've been doing these Wednesday night, once, twice a month, and we started doing just on women in the church. So the first night, the first time we met, we talked about Mary, of course, as the quintessential
Mm.
woman of the church and how we understand her. It was really kind of cool. We talked about like which apparitions of Mary are you most attracted to? Which prayer to Mary? You know, like, are you really into the Memorare, or do you like the Angelus, or do you wait all year for the Regina Caeli to come back? You know, it was a really interesting conversation about um, how we, through different prayers of the church, sacramentals of the church, communicate, you know, to pray to and with the church and pray to Mary to intercede for us. You know, so it was really interesting, like to say which apparition, of course, really interesting. You know, who knew Lourdes, who
Mm-hmm.
knew Fatima, who was real into the miraculous medal, and why? Like, where did that particular interest? And sometimes it was because their grandmas took them somewhere, or you know, and these are adult women. You know, they've raised their families. Some of them are, um, you know, having time now as grandmas to have a little bit more time to look at their faith. And so it's been
Mm.
really, really interesting. So that was the first one. The next one we did was on women, American women who are either saints or servants of God or blesseds. And it was amazing. There's like 14 women, maybe not that many.
Hey,
Yeah, we
that's
did
pretty good.
Kateri Tekakwitha, of course, servant of God, Thea Bowman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we did the three, is it three or four women now who are African American women who are servants of God? Julia Greeley. We looked at Mary Elizabeth Lang, Mother Lang,
Mm-hmm.
the
Motherling.
divine,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and Catherine Drexel. It was really interesting. Of course, Elizabeth Seton. Of course, we
Clearly.
talked about Dorothy Day, and looked at like what's a saint, what's a servant of God, what's that identity. Those who are saints, Kateri, Tekakwitha, Native American, um, Catherine Drexel, Francis Cabrini. And what was really fascinating was that as we looked at these women, began to realize that very uniquely to the United States, they were a diverse group of women, right? So Elizabeth Seton
Mm-hmm.
was a convert to the faith, but was born in the United States. As Catherine Drexel was not a convert; she was always Catholic, but you know became a saint. Francis Cabrini was born in Italy, but became was naturalized African American, lay women as well as religious, like servant of God Thea Bowman. So it was like these women represented a good portion of the diversity of the United
Mm.
States, which was really, really exciting. And then, of course, their connections, like Elizabeth Ann Seton and um, Teresa Maxis, who was part of the IHM community, founded them really, and Mother Mary Lang were all in um, with the Sulpicians in Baltimore roughly
Yes.
around the same
Yeah.
time, right? And again, very diverse women. You know, Mother Mary Lang was Haitian, and um, Teresa Maxis was both Haitian and Caucasian, and then Elizabeth Ann Seton, and all of them finding their vocations uh, at this small Baltimore seminary. It wasn't actually very small, but really fascinating. A men's seminary, and these three amazing American women come forward to start really amazing communities. So that was a fun night together. For Advent, we did who Advent women, but we talked about Old Testament women like Sarah,
Hmm.
and yeah, and just women who heard the word of God, and thought they were barren. We talked about Ruth being one who really gave her life. Said, "Your God is my God" to Naomi. And then we looked at Elizabeth and Mary. Looked at Anna. you know
I love
and how
that.
do all of those women, what do they all represent? you know um, the miracles of God, really, to women who thought they were too old and too barren, to young women who thought they would never get pregnant. It's been fascinating. So we're going to do like the women doctors of the church. Like this coming week we were going to do Josephine Bakita as a young Sudanese young girl who was kidnapped, or her village was destroyed and she was kidnapped and then
Right.
sold into slavery, and how her life really helps us to be more attentive to the issues of human trafficking around the world. So it's been exciting for me. As you can tell, I'm having a
I
great time.
mean,
Yeah, and I think they are too. They are too. One of the women in Mass this morning came up to me and said, "Sister, we are having our group next week, right?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, yeah,
aw.
we are." And she said, "Can you tell me? I promise I won't tell anyone. Who are we going to talk about this time?" And I was like, I said, "Can't do that."
She
She said,
wanted to
"Come
know
on,
the
come on."
secret.
Yeah, she said, "I'm going to look it up ahead of time." I'm like, "No, you can't come trying to be smarter than everybody else. It was so cute. It was really, really sweet. It was really sweet. "Can you tell me ahead of time?"
I was just going to say, it reminds me of, I went recently down to Mary Washington, which is my alma mater and where we first met. And they're looking at one of the people who went to Mary Washington. Her name is Jean Donovan. She was one of the four that was martyred in El Salvador. She was a lay woman with these three sisters, and they might be looking at to see how they could potentially open a cause for starting the process of becoming a servant of God, blessed and saint. And so, when you're a martyr, you kind of get on the fast track in some senses, right? But there's all this other stuff behind the scenes that has to happen, and I don't know any of it as far as opening causes and how that has to work. But it's just it's cool when you have somebody who's the homegrown, the girl from your hometown kind of thing, who's very gave her life for the faith and was willing to put it all out there. And just like those saints you were mentioning, wanted to serve God and didn't have to wait until she found her vocation to go and do something of heroic virtue. And I think that's just such a good example to college students and young adults of here's someone who said yes to God, and her, our friend Sarah, who we know, said she didn't have to wait till she got into her big V vocation to to do something great and to follow God's path for her. And what a witness, right, of fidelity to God's call, even if it meant that she would give her life for it. And so I thought of you, and we sent you some old pictures. They had photo albums from 2000 and 2002 when I was a baby, a little tiny baby in college. And you came on our couple of our service trips and different events and stuff. And so it was really special to go back there and to give a talk and to bring Sarah and sister Ann Catherine, who's a good friend, sister of life, who is available to come with us. We all went there. So it was precious to go back to that. And I remember as we were praying, they have a holy hour before They do a holy hour mass and then dinner and speaker. And, we're just praying in silence before the Blessed Sacrament. And it was just like, my heart, I love him like I did back then, just a gift to be able to reconnect with a place that is so special to you, and was so significant in discernment and in my faith. And so I remember being there fondly, but I also will remember the experience of going back as a big girl, as an adult, to give back to that community, which was so good to me.
Yeah, I think that's great. I do remember the service trip that we went on to Kentucky. And when you sent me the picture, I was thanking God right at this moment that we're not like video, that we're just audio at the moment, because the pictures were hysterical. I was like, oh my goodness, that was a long time ago. And while I may not feel that much older, I feel that much older when I saw those pictures of that. Could I climb up in those rickety bunks and climb under a house again to help, do some work for some folks? It was kind of crazy. And I thought to myself, what you do to help people discern, to be engaged in the work of the church, right? You go, I was there as a vocation director, but at the same time, you realize that the work of discernment isn't about whether or not someone becomes a sister or a priest or a brother. It's about everyone finding their vocation, finding what they were called to do
Mm.
in the world, and to have a space to be able to talk about that, discover it, and then do it. So when I was looking at those pictures, I thought, oh my goodness, where are all these young people now? Because now I know they're as old as you, but still not as old as me.
They're all like me, and they have teenagers
Yeah,
as kids,
yeah.
and
It's
it's
amazing. It is
hilarious.
hilarious.
It's
Yeah.
it's cool to see how it all unfolds, how life
Hmm.
unfolds. And I'm sure none of us imagined that we would experience what we have over, the number of years now, but I wouldn't trade it.
Oh,
Wouldn't trade it at
no.
all. It's such
Yeah,
a
never
gift.
turn back. Yeah. Except to see the long road that you've traveled, to kind of see the slow work of God, as Teilhard de Chardin says, right? To see what then felt
Mhm.
like either great excitement and just filled with the graces of God, or like, why am I doing this? Like, how am I gonna get through this? And God works it. God, if we stay active and we stay together, God will work the magic. He'll bring about the miracles of our vocations for sure. Um, yeah. So the other is, I was thinking, in my time in ministry, um, I think this is the other part of what happens in discernment, right? We're always kind of discerning. Uh, how are we serving God? We're sent to do particular jobs and to do a particular ministry, to be engaged with not just people who are poor, but systems that are poor, and trying to figure out how do we not just help people in their individual lives, but how do we help lift the burden, the oppression of poverty? Feels
Mm.
bigger, when I think about it that way. And one of the things, I was talking about Saint Josephine Bakhita. Um, I was thinking about time when I was in Macon, Georgia, and quite out of not even out of my control, but unbeknownst to me, I wasn't looking for it, got involved in some work around human trafficking. Now, who would think in Macon, Georgia, that was even a conversation,
Mm.
but um, complications in the way people were living their lives and what we were seeing around us in and around Atlanta, and in the city of Macon, and in the cities around us, really got me kind of hooked on this idea that people are still struggling and still suffering from the oppression of being enslaved, you know um, and
Mm.
what that looks like um, in a modern day scope. And so one of the other things I've been doing here, it's just started, just very, very beginning, is volunteering with the Gateway Alliance Against Human Trafficking here in St. Louis. And uh, it's been really interesting. It's a predominantly education program. They really want to do education to bring around awareness to the plight of people who are trafficked, and really how does this happen
Mm.
to people? And so I was thinking, the campaigns of see something, say something. And I was thinking, you can't see something if you haven't been taught to see, and so education is really the first step. Um, and so that's been another um, passion of mine for a long time in community life, one I didn't
Mm-hmm.
anticipate. I had my own, like, I'm going to work with homeless people, and I really want to work with people who are incarcerated, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. And I'm hoping I get sent to do this or that. And human trafficking was never on the list. And yet it's become a
Mm.
passion every city I go to just see what efforts are there in that city, to rid the world of such a horrible, horrible thing, and to find ways um, to free the captives. Um, yeah. So that's another thing I'm engaged in, which I'm really excited about. Like I said, very early on. I'm not sure where this is going to go, but it felt good to reach out, and to see that the work is being done still. And this is a great program. They just do a lot of really good
Yeah.
education.
I remember you saying when you were in Macon about how it's situated with the highways and
Hmm.
everything that people can get in and out quickly. And I feel like St. Louis is similar in that way, obviously on a bigger scale than Macon, Georgia, but like there are so many highways and roads in and out that potentially things can happen and then people disappear quickly. And what a yeah, it's such a sad and terrible thing that happens today, a scourge, really. Um, but this ministry, this work, is so important to bring awareness to that, so that people know that this is still happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think sometimes these sort of waves of, oh, this is a thing, and then people forget about it. Oh, this
Hmm.
now we're going to look at this other thing, and they might forget about it. And so gosh, it's something that's still very important. And when we go, now that I travel more frequently on in the airports, I see that all the time, these signs of, if you are in trouble or if you are being brought here against your will, call this number. And years ago those things were very seldom and few, but now in hotels and airports those things are far more common to see. If you need help, please reach out and call these numbers or hotlines and stuff like that. And that doesn't just magically happen. It happens because people of goodwill decide that something has to be done, even if it's as small as a sticker on the back of a bathroom stall. Um, it's something, and surely the places that help them would keep data on where they get those calls from. But it's I think it's valuable and it's still happening in the world, so we have to keep it on the radar.
Yeah. And really to take it out of the scary darkness. Like, it is dangerous. It can be dangerous work. You don't just jump into this kind of thing, or and say, I'm going to go free some people who I think are being held captive, or but it really is to help it be brought out of the darkness, so that um, communities can understand that what they may see as criminal behavior, let's say issues around prostitution or something like that, um, that these may be really situations of victimization. And we have to be sensitive, I think, to understand the red flags of what's happening. And it takes education, and it's education that isn't going to take you into, the dark alleys of the
Mm,
underworld, but it can help you to see what is so hidden, and learn. the ways in which you can respond. What are the safe places that you can speak about something you see? And in each city, it's going to be different. And so I would just encourage people, if you're at all interested, email us at companyofcharity@gmail.com, and we can help direct you to some places in your area, or just have a chat about what this kind of work could mean in relation to the education that could be involved. Even things like shopping at fair trade places, using fair trade as a kind of a standard, to look for things that are around fair trade just means somebody is getting a living wage, hopefully, and it probably is able to protect themselves more financially to not have to deal with something as dark as being trafficked. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I think to me, I realized that, I had left Macon a long time ago, feels like 2015, almost 10 years ago.
Yes.
And like I said, whenever I've gone to another city, it's one of the things I look at and just say, what's happening here? And how can I just be aware of what the efforts are? And right now, I'm in a position where I can do a little bit more, even if it's just to encourage people, to do some awareness here in St. Louis within the Catholic Church, which has a great effort. The USCCB has a program called, I think it's called Be a Shepherd, which is around that idea of being able to inform people around the issues of
Mm.
human trafficking, um, and celebrating the International Day of Prayer and Awareness, uh, to end human trafficking, the focus on Saint Josephine Bakhita as an intercessor. So it's powerful stuff. It's bringing it all out of
Yes.
the darkness so that we in the light can be a sign of hope for people who just feel like nobody cares. Yeah, so that's my
Yes.
other little side hustle, you know.
Yeah, and if there's ever a podcast about it, if you're going to start a podcast with them, keep us posted.
Oh, I can barely keep this one going. I always think podcasts, they're like
Like,
babies, they're like your children.
you
You have
can't
to
just
keep feeding them.
let them off on their own.
They don't feed
And we're so glad
themselves.
you listened. Just saying, just throwing that out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Absolutely. Yeah.
I forget who I was talking to, and they were like, "We love your podcast," and I was like, "What? You listen? That's so great! It's amazing. Every time I meet someone new who listens to podcasts, I'm just extremely delighted and surprised in a little way, but delighted nonetheless."
Yeah, I'm not as surprised anymore. I used to be really surprised. I was like, oh, this is great. Somebody's listening. And now I realize some are closet listeners, they like listen
We
and
know you're
don't
out
maybe
there.
tell anybody, they're not really sure. I just think I'm always impressed when I hear somebody say, not just that they listened, but some will go back and listen to episodes that we may have mentioned, or they'll
From
just kind of
before.
scroll through and be like, wow, I didn't know you guys talked about this. Um, that always helps me to realize, you know, the episode comes out and we move on to the next one. And sometimes when they come out, we did that episode, maybe that interview a month ago, and so we're in
Or a
kind of a
year ago or
quasi
5 years ago.
time. But when we see the body of our work, over 100 episodes, uh, I'm like,
Just saying.
what
Just
have we
saying.
done? Um, yeah, and when we used to say, we had our seasons where we were constantly letting everyone know how low tech we really were. But
We
we've
have real
kept it.
microphones now,
Yeah,
people.
we do. But I think what's always been encouraging for me is that you can really get good information out there, and it doesn't have to be really, really complicated. And while, maybe there'll be a time when we'll step up the drama and the music or something, get a little bit more NPR like. For right now, it's just two simple daughters of charity talking with
Talking.
folks who are like-minded with us and want to do good work in the world, and lift as many people as possible out of the poverty, the oppression, the sadness, the loneliness of their lives. Um, and to just see the joy of the church and how we're just part of something so much bigger than ourselves. Uh, so that's what really encourages me.
100%.
Yeah, yeah. So if you're listening,
Yes.
tell a
And
friend, send it around, get others to listen, have a listen party. There you go. Like listen with them.
listen party. Wouldn't that be bake cookies while you're listening?
That's right.
You all have you get to know us over time, and I'm sure many of you have been holding your breath waiting to hear back how the marathon went. I did run a marathon about 8 days ago, and it was absolutely delightful and a great opportunity to go back to Brownsville, Texas, where I was for 6 years, and a beautiful mission, great people, the food, the culture, the music, the family atmosphere. It was a warming experience. Just to be able to reconnect with everybody and to raise some money. I think I heard that they raised over $22,000. So how about that, everybody? We did it.
Nice, nice.
Um, and I will, even though I did struggle very much with the Baltimore Hills, it actually helped me to run a faster marathon. It probably was the fastest I've run of all the 5 marathons, because of the hills, of Baltimore. My legs, I think, were a little bit stronger than in previous years.
So the
So
flatland of
it was
Texas, is that what you're telling us?
the flatland of Texas was nothing against the leg strength, the quad strength of the Baltimore Hills. So, shout out to everybody who ran with me. Sister Kara, honorable mention. Father Brian, who's this Jesuit who ran a half marathon with me, and they talked to each other the entire time, which was hilarious and great. So it kept my mind off of any pain or suffering because they were keeping me occupied and entertaining the entire time. So it was a real gift.
Yeah, I still wonder how you talk and run at the same time, but I'm just I'm like,
It's possible.
really? How is that? How is that? I know sometimes you talk to me when you're out running on the phone, and I'm like, how is that happening right now? How is that happening? But I'm impressed, always, always impressed by the strength of runners. It's amazing. The endurance, the discipline, it's all pretty
Yes.
amazing stuff, so, but I'm
It's
certainly
it's
grateful
a
for
it's a
this.
spiritual connection.
It is, yeah, yeah. And in this case was, lucrative and helpful to a ministry that
Yes.
right now really needs attention, needs help, needs some support. So that's great.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. It just sharing stories and sharing our hearts. It's this is Things like this help us to see that we're all united, and um, to really know that there's a lot of suffering in the world, and there's also a lot of joy and a lot of compassion and people that really care. And I think that's what we need now, with the instability that's happening all over the world, to be able to say, people of goodwill are banding together and supporting each other. And even if there are natural disasters, human disasters, wars, etc., we were able to recognize the presence of God in all of it and know that we haven't been forsaken. And it's a good, sometimes we have to be reminded of that. And sometimes it's our responsibility to remind others of it and to be that light. And so we appreciate the opportunity to reconnect and to support each other in whatever situation that people are going through.
Very well said, sister. That was beautiful. Yeah. And
Thank you.
and as people are listening, to remember that while we may not know who all of you are, we certainly pray for you and all of your needs. And we just hope that you're praying for us too, and all of our sisters who are doing just that, trying to bring some light into a world that for some can seem so dark. Um, that everyone knows that the kingdom is for them, love, the embrace of our good God, that's for all of us. It's for all of us.
Yes. And stay tuned for some great episode content coming out in the next few months. We always go into mid-July, so you'll see some cool stuff coming out. Certainly, Lent is right around the corner, and so that'll be something to think about and to pray through as we get prepared to get out there in the desert and let the Lord speak to us. But until then, we thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you in the next one.